Yesterday, in Moscow, we witnessed horror footage. Terrorists entered a shopping mall and killed many people. I'm not going to show anything in this video. I will share only my thoughts and what I saw. Let's start from the beginning. Who benefits from this? We can find two sides with arguments and anti-arguments. Firstly, let's start with Putin. Topic of Putin has been raised many times. Of course, the West tried and failed. We will see it later. To blame for it, Putin and Russia itself. Why is it beneficial for Putin? Only one word and argument: war. From the logic of many people, and I had the same thoughts too, Russia is preparing for a new attack. From a strategic point of view, Russia needs to conquer Odessa or Kharkov. Better for Russia if both, but from my perspective right now, Russia doesn't have that power. How can Russia prepare for it? Russia needs soldiers, so it means a new mobilization. Mobilization has a negative impact on society, so Russia needs to motivate people to come themselves. How? We all know the answer. But after hours of thinking, I will prove to you that this is not the case. What are the counter-arguments? Well, counter-arguments will be arguments for the second side who is beneficial from this. The second side is the West, or most importantly, Zelensky. Why? First of all, Ukraine is losing at war. Even though Zelensky claims that the Russian offensive is stopped in Donbass, Russia still slowly conquers more and more villages, moving forward. You can say few villages are not that scary. You will be right. But the problem for Ukraine and the West is that the Russian tactic is to not conquer right away, everything at once. The Russian tactic is to wait and hit. Russia has a lot of resources, so the idea is to focus on one side and hit it there. If you look at the map, you will see that the war is happening only in the south. Even though it's logical for Ukraine to suddenly hit Russia from the northeast, I believe that Russia and the US agreed on terms that the war will be only on Donbass. And if Ukraine attacks Russia from the northeast, Russia will use nuclear weapons. This is why Ukraine does not attack there, and if attacks only tries to conquer a small village next to the border. Developing this idea, resources to continue war for Ukraine is not limitless. It is obvious that the West is getting tired, especially the US, because the US got what it wanted: a destroyed economy of the EU, a monopoly of the energy resources on the European market, new countries in NATO, and complete dominance over Europe. On top of it, American politicians tell Ukraine to take army youngsters below 25. Ukraine has a big issue with soldier numbers, plus a new war is coming, Taiwan. The USA won't be able to focus on two sides at the same time. So Ukraine as a project of anti-Russia should continue, but not in an active phase like now. Second argument why this tragedy is beneficial for the West and Zelensky is that since they are losing a war, they still need to damage Putin's Russia, destabilize it, not only to harm Russia, but also to have a stronger position in negotiation. Some experts say that for Putin this tragedy is not beneficial because he already won an election with a high rating. He can do whatever he wants. He doesn't need to have such a tragedy to get people into the army. About this argument, I suggest everybody should decide on their own if Putin needs or does not need such things for the army. But still, this argument is valid because it has a logic. The third argument which made me believe that the West and the Zelensky is behind this tragedy is their behavior. I believe if you are interested in politics, you already know about the weird behavior of the US. Right away, American government decided to defend Zelensky's government. No one knew what happened properly, but the US decided to support Zelensky by saying they are sure that it's not them. Interesting. And then comes this. In the beginning of March, USA and UK warned their citizens about possible terrorist danger in Russian embassies, especially in concerts like what happened yesterday. Yesterday in White House, John Kirby said,
You might have also seen, hopefully you saw the State Department, our embassy there, put out a notice to all Americans in Moscow to avoid any large gathering, concerts, obviously shopping malls, anything like that, just for their own safety.
What? So, from his words, the American embassy warned its own citizens only for their own safety. Only a naive fool will believe these words, but it doesn't stop here. It continues later. John Kirby.
There was a State Department issued warning about a potential terrorist activity earlier this month we don't know right now whether the degree to which that warning and this attack are connected, but there was some concern that we had about the potential for a terrorist attack in and around Moscow earlier this month. So again, we've just got to get more information and try to see if we can put the pieces together. But there was, rightly so, Ben's right, there was a warning to Americans earlier about some concerns of this sort of activity.
Now words are completely different. They knew about something. But before he was saying something different, also this talking head said, obviously there are people in Moscow and Russia who do not agree with the way Mr. Putin is running the country. But I don't think we can make a connection between the mall attack and the political regime at this point. We need more time and more information. People who do not agree with the way Mr. Putin runs the country, according to the West, is RDK. And RDK is Defense Intelligence of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, which is controlled by Britain. And the final blow came after Western cheap and trash propagandas like CNN and BBC told us who did this. ISIS. It was done by ISIS. ISIS, who got destroyed in Syria, decided to attack Russia from nowhere in 2024. Are you fucking kidding me? The absurd of this statement lies in the fact that right now Netanyahu's government makes a genocide of Muslims in Gaza, and ISIS decided to attack a Christian Russia, which fights with another Christian country. Meanwhile, a Jewish Netanyahu's government kills Muslims in the Holy Land. ISIS, who wanted to create a big Muslim country, attacks Russia. Western elite do believe that you, me, and everyone is an idiot who cannot ask questions. On top of it, Russian police forces caught terrorists in Bryanskaya Oblast, and the car was moving towards the Ukrainian border. Exactly the same scenario as it happened with the assassination of Dugina, when a Ukrainian agent escaped with a car on the Baltic border. Before ending this video, I want to tell you other interesting facts. Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić. On March 7th, the American embassy urged its citizens not to visit the shopping center. Then the British and someone else did the same. This means that their intelligence services intercepted certain communications, received information, and knew that something would happen. On 18th of March, former US President Barack Obama paid a private visit to the residence of the British Prime Minister. I wonder what is so urgent and important to discuss that Obama arrived in person. My last words will be about ordinary people. I have seen many laughing comments from Ukrainian sides. I have seen many negative comments about Russia from the American side in this tragedy. I have seen many negative comments from Russians towards the West. I always said that, I am saying it, and I will say it again. Never ever ordinary people are to blame for horrors of their elites. I am pissed of what happened. I am angry at the West and Zelensky. But these assholes are not the faces of their nations and countries. The same logic you can use towards Russia, Turkey, any country you want. It's difficult in such difficult times to stay sane. But we have to. Otherwise, people who laugh about the deaths of ordinary peoples from every side, Russian, American, Western, Ukrainian, and many more, will force us to hate each other. Stay sane and human.